Hello, everybody. Speaking to your tutors during the last few weeks, they've often pointed out how enjoyable their phone conversations with you have been, how good it's been to be able to hear that you're okay and to talk things through with you. And one specific observation that they've shared with me is how that they've learned what time of day is most effective, shall we say, of ensuring that you are available to talk, shall we say. Now, what I mean by available to talk is, of course, awake. Now, I mentioned and discussed in an earlier assembly about time and the strange effects that our current state of lockdown is having on our perceptions of time, and also the way that we are enjoying perhaps an opportunity to develop our own rhythms outside those that are normally imposed on us externally from schedules, timetables, registrations, etc. And I know naturally enough a rhythm that is very dear to the heart of most 16 to 18-year-olds is sleep. And it's no secret that the teenage brain would rather, given half the chance, sleep longer in the morning and stay up later in the night. And this is, as you will know, due to your circadian rhythms or your body clock. And it's well known that teenagers experience what's called a sleep phase delay. That means that you feel more alert, naturally more alert, later at night. And I'm not sure whether you've experienced an aspect of this, which is what's called the second circadian dip. The first circadian dip is the bit during the night where you're most programmed to feel a strong urge to sleep. So for people of your age, that's between 3 and 7 a.m. Now, I can hear you taking a deep breath because 7 a.m. sounds like crack of dawn. But that 7 a.m. can be stretched much later into the morning, as your tutors have discovered, especially if your sleep patterns are disruptive. And if your first circadian dip lasts into the afternoon, you run the risk of it clashing with your second dip, which goes from 2 till 5 p.m. at your age. So if you're someone who has been waking up at 2:30 p.m. and wondering why you still feel so exhausted or ill, it's not because you've contracted anything. It's because you've woken up right in the middle of that second dip. For adults, our urge to sleep have a different pattern, of course. Our first circadian dip is from 2 until 4 a.m. and the second is just after lunch from 1 until 3. So you can see you and your parents are quite literally out of sync when it comes to who's tired when. And this makes two potential problems for you. First is the fact that disrupted circadian rhythms make you feel lousy. They make you feel irritable, anxious, ill, exactly like jet lag does. And the other issue is that you may or may not be getting grief from your parents who are exasperated at what they see as your antisocial hours, or worse, laziness. Now, to address the second of these, feel free please to earnestly explain the science behind your behaviour. It's quite fashionable at the moment to refer to the science to explain things, so that might work. Or you can do your best to wake up in a bit of the day where you're supposed to be awake, i.e. before 2 p.m. I've had some conversations with one or two of you this week, and you've been feeling a bit anxious about getting your sleep back under control. You're probably feeling anxious also because your sleep is out of control. But you're anticipating schools starting to reopen and regular life restarting, and it's understandable that you're feeling that you need to get that back under control. It's unfortunate, of course, that the rhythms of the adult workplace have long dictated school start times. It tends to be early to allow parents to get to work and have had a productive day before the children finish the day's lessons. And this early start is biologically much easier for them than it is for you because of that first circadian dip, even if it doesn't feel like particularly easy on those dark winter mornings when it's hard for everyone to get out of bed. But this difference between a person's natural rhythms and the rhythms that are demanded of them, or the difference between people's rhythms living in the same place, isn't necessarily exclusively an issue between parents and teenagers, or parents and teenagers and schools. When you're a baby, before you're born, your circadian rhythms are the same as your mother's. When she sleeps, you sleep mostly. But once you're born, it all goes out the window. And it can take months for a circadian rhythm of your own to develop. And this is where it's tough on parents, particularly first-time parents. In fact, it's double tough. Not only will they be experiencing sleep loss and jet lag feelings while one of them is still having to go to work, but there's an anxiety from parents about getting it right, about getting you into a healthy rhythm and how best to do it. Should they, for example, let you sleep, wake and eat at your own rhythm and respond to your demands day or night, and let those circadian rhythms establish themselves gradually? Or should they work to try and establish a routine early on to resist the urge to respond every time a baby wakes, in an effort to train them into a circadian rhythm that's going to work with the family? It's really tough, because there are plenty of people who are ready to judge which is the right way and wrong way to do it. There are other aspects that can cause cultural clashes around sleep too. The whole idea of early to bed and early to rise as a kind of productivity indicator is not shared globally. In warmer countries, it's very common to sleep in the afternoon during that second circadian dip, and then eat supper much later in the evenings. In Spain, for instance, it's not uncommon for families to sit down and eat supper at 10 o'clock in the evening. In Japan, if you're sleeping at your desk during the working day, particularly sleeping upright apparently at your desk, this is considered a kind of badge of honour, how hard you've been working. It doesn't raise any eyebrows as it would do here in Britain. Sleep patterns during Ramadan will often make daily work schedules a real challenge, and is a big part of that sacrifice involved in the fast, especially as we've had in the last few years when exam season coincides with Ramadan. So it can be very tough when your rhythms don't fit in with the things that you have to do in your day, or with the people with whom you share your life. Which is, of course, understandably, why so many of you have been taking the opportunity to well and truly catch up on your sleep during these last few unprecedented weeks. But why also you might be, at least in the back of your mind, worried about how you're going to be managing when things get back to normal. So if this is you, and I know it's not all of you, but if it is you, here are a couple of tips to help you get those circadian rhythms back into something like a pattern. The first thing is to do it gradually. Gradually start to bring your wake time into a period of the day that you're actually supposed to feel awake. To start with, I would aim for anything AM, 10:30, 11, doesn't matter. Then bit by bit you bring it back a little earlier by a little earlier until you can wake up fairly comfortably about 9. And then, if I were you, I'd leave it there for a bit. We don't know when your morning routine is going to be back to normal, or indeed when it's going to be set in any kind of pattern. So we'll be sure to give you plenty of notice when we do know, so that you can fine-tune your rhythms in advance and be ready for that. The other part of the picture, of course, is about when you sleep to make waking easier. And you will have had the experience where, late in the evening you're simply not tired. Now, the experts think that light is a big factor on this, and that you should try and keep your room lights dim for the hour before you'd like to start feeling sleepy. And, of course, avoid the phone during that time. Now, I'm sure you'll all have night mode set automatically, sunrise to sunset on your phone. I'm sure you've got that sorted and the blue lights aren't messing with you. But it's also about what you do on the phone screen or the computer screen that can make it hard for you to sleep. So you're going to need to give yourself a break for that hour before you want to sleep. Similarly, don't eat too late. Give yourself time to digest before you sleep. I know you know all these. You've heard it all 100 times before, partly from me. But in the meantime, it's half term next week. So there's a bit more time for you to enjoy some guilt-free sleep. It's a very special privilege to be able to sleep, as we have enjoyed our sleep over the last few weeks, and some of you more than others. So enjoy a break from your schoolwork, enjoy your sleep, and we'll hope to see you soon. All the best.